Welcome back, race fans, to another segment of VintageNASCARDiecast.com, your source for those older, hard-to-find, and collectible NASCAR Diecast collectibles. Today I want to talk a little bit about Dale Earnhardt, the man in black, the Intimidator, perhaps the greatest icon NASCAR has ever seen. We're going to talk a little bit about his cars he drove throughout his career. Starting over here is this 1975 Dodge Charger that he drove in his first ever super speedway race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Moving over here is this 1976 high-gain Chevy Malibu. Also from 1976 is this Army Chevy Malibu. Over here is this 1977 Belden Asphalt car, also a Chevy Malibu that he drove. Back in the day, he basically drove one-race deals before he got his big break here in 1979 when he was hired full-time to drive and wound up winning Rookie of the Year and also winning a race during that year. Panning back over here is Dale's 1980 Mike Curb Chevy Monte Carlo, the year he won his first championship in. Over here is his 1981 Wrangler Pontiac. Moving over here is Dale's 1982 number 15 Wrangler Ford Thunderbird that he drove for Bud Moore back in those days. Over here in 1984 he began driving for Richard Childress. This first car with the mostly yellow paint scheme, he drove this car one and only time at the Daytona Motor Speedway to a third place finish. The sponsors didn't like the yellow because they couldn't see the sponsorship very well, so they wound up changing it to this next paint scheme over here, which is mostly blue in the back, where they could see the Wrangler name and colors a whole lot better. Back over here is Dale's 1988 Goodwrench Chevy Monte Carlo Aero Coupe. It was the first year for Goodwrench sponsorship, and here's a great die-cast replica. It's a Action Elite piece. Very valuable, very collectible. Over here is Dale's 1989 Pontiac Grand Prix Lowe's Foods, the car he drove in the 1989 Busch Grand National race at Daytona. Moving over here is Dale's 1991 Goodwrench Lumina, the year he won the championship, his first championship with Goodwrench. Up here is a custom-made Action Elite car of Dale's 1994 Goodwrench Lumina. That would be Dale's 7th and final championship. Moving back over here is Dale's 1995 Chevy Monte Carlo. Dale's 1995, his Silver Select, his Winston All-Star race car. Here's an example of Dale's 1996 Goodwrench service car that he drove in the All-Star race commemorating the Olympic Games in Atlanta that year. And finally, these last two cars. Here's an elite version of Dale's Goodwrench Plus car that he drove in 1997 for the first half of 1997. And over here is Dale's Wheaties car that he also drove in the All-Star race in May of 1997. Well, there you have it, race fans. Here's just a few of Dale's cars he drove throughout the years. Remember, Vintage NASCAR Diecast. If you're looking for those older, hard-to-find cars, I've probably got it. Check me out. Next week, we'll talk about Darrell Waltrip. Stay tuned. Thanks.